Hello again, YouTube, and I'm back with another update video here. And in this video, I'm just continuing my reconditioning process. I haven't shown any videos up to this point of me doing things, but this is part of my reconditioning process. What it is sometimes you have to change out the electrolyte inside of the battery itself with this mixture of water, distilled water, and potassium hydroxide. This container here is a container I bought from Walmart. It's made out of glass because the reaction between the electrolyte or the potassium hydroxide and the distilled water creates what they call an exothermic reaction, meaning it gets very hot. And so what I'm doing right now is with my power supply with some electrolyte in there. This electrolyte has been, and I just simply added some water. It looked clean enough, and I checked the specific gravity on one of the cells, and it was up to par. So I just decided to leave that electrolyte in there, assuming that it was good to go from the start. So what I'm doing, I'm just charging it up with this particular power supply. This is a new power supply that I just got, kind of helped me out in the process. So what I'm doing is sending a constant current of 25.4 amps, and I'm going to charge this up to at least 3.7 volts or 3.8. And so just start the process, and I'm going to let this go for about 15 hours because these cells here were essentially at zero. So I'm hoping that this right here will kind of bring these cells back to life. Now, as you can see, I've been working on some cells, and this cell right here I've discovered was a problem child. It would not, for whatever reason, the charging voltage would never get above 1.45 or something like 1.44. And situations like this right here, I need it to get above to get it to at least 1.64 1.65 volts. So I'm going to set that one to the side and kind of work with it a little bit. These are some new cells that are some different cells that I'm working with, charging them up and everything. Hold on, I'll show you what I've got so far. Okay, YouTube, and I'm back here. This is my current bank of the nickel cadmium cells. I have one sitting to the side as a spare, and these are cells I've got it connected in 19 connected in series for a battery bank, a battery of 19 cells. What you see on the top there is my effort to make covers for the terminals, and they're just simply PVC pipe, 1-inch PVC, and I just kind of cut it in half, and I make the tops, and they worked out pretty well. I mean, if you look at them, that's all it is. It worked out great. So I don't have to go out and buy anything. And I had these as spares anyway, so it worked out great. And I had a spare cover for my other nickel iron cells here. So these are nickel cadmium cells. They're very old, maybe at least 2 or 3 decades old, at least 2 decades old. And so I've been working with them, off and on every day, pretty much. I started letting them, charge up, drain them, charge up, drain them, and so forth. Changing out the electrolyte in various ones, and so far they're working all right. I think I get about maybe half of the capacity now that they, original. Each one of these cells is 240 amp hours as far as the rated capacity, but being that we're talking, 2 or 3 decades old, and in various states of abuse from when whoever had them last. Right now I'm slowly bringing them back to life, and I can get about 4 or 5 hours out of these, but I've been really hitting them hard. As you can see right now with my system, I'm actually inverting, and right now I'm charging the batteries at the same time, with 21 amps, and this is they're up at 99% because I just used them to do my dishes with my dishwasher. So, and they're at 39.1 volts, which is very good. So right now, and if you see here, my MPPT charge controller is bringing in about 25.9, 25.8 amps. and it's only like 11:30 in the afternoon or in the morning, 11:30, and so it's doing pretty well. Sun's going in and out of of clouds, I suppose. But these cells are working out pretty well, and as I said before, I'm slowly trying to recondition them. And how I recondition them is I fill them up with KOH, I rinse them out. What I do is, step one would be to take a cell like this and dump the electrolyte out of it. If the specific gravity is not up to par, then dump the electrolyte out of it. I use regular, water from a garden hose to rinse it out. Because at this point, there's already, after decades of use or abuse, there's already crap in there, so I'm not really worried about, recontaminating them. So what it is I use tap water or the garden hose water to rinse it out maybe 2 or 3 times, and then I rinse it out with distilled water, and then I fill it up with electrolyte that's at a specific gravity, and then I charge it for 15 hours. Now, looking at each one of these cells here, out of all of these cells, about 3 of them, are not like the other, so to speak. When I can drain it down to like 20 volts, and if I looked at each one of the cells, about 3 of those cells will be below 1 volt. Out of the 19, I can honestly say about maybe 18, out of the 19, maybe 15 of them are, they're still like 1.1 volt and stuff like that, but they're about maybe 3 or 4, at least 3 that's below 1 volt, and so those 3 I focus on. As you can see right here, I've got some tape to kind of mark the ones that I need to take a look at during each and every charging cycle to see what they're doing. And what it is and I will swap those out and recharge those, change out the electrolyte or something, and then put them back in. And again, this is a lengthy process. As you can see, I've added some. I've also made some additions to my system here. I have another switch, circuit breaker switch, and this is between the ultra capacitors here and the inverter, so that I can turn that inverter off, and also I have some additional protection. And I've also removed the battery lifesaver, because that's mainly designed for lead acid batteries. Since these batteries here don't sulfate, I don't really need those. So I've got some additional wiring. So I've also cleaned up and made all of the wiring 4-alt. So I got super thick wiring, heavy gauge wiring, 4 circuit breakers. And I've got the batteries hooked up, and I've been using them for weeks. Since at least for like 2 or 3 weeks. And so I'll be running like this, in inverting mode until about 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And from there, I may decide to keep going and, keep it like that and keep going and drain these batteries a little bit more. You can see right now, my system is flipping between absorb mode and MPPT, and again, I am inverting. My home loads are being run from the solar, and the excess power is going into the battery bank. And you can see now it's now into absorb mode. You may be able to hear that sound. That's the sound of the charge controller, the internal circuitry doing a lot of switching, and I guess that's the harmonics or something like that when it's doing all that is switching. So and from what I understand, that's normal, so I'm not really sweating that. But anyway, this is my effort to recondition nickel iron batteries. So it's a slow process, but right now I can say that at least with these batteries here, I think I can get up to, out of the 240, I'm about 50%, so that's about 120 amp hours, maybe less, maybe between 100 and 120 amp hours, which is not bad for these batteries that are that old. And and I'm hoping that the more I use them, the better they're going to be. Now, these batteries here, I still have these batteries, and this is like maybe again a winter project. And also you can see over here, I've already taken out the AGMs that I have, and my plan is to, I'll probably use maybe 1 or 2, and I'll sell the rest. They're still good. I mean, it's probably still got about 5 years left on them. But anyway, but these are what I'm working on now. And the nickel iron batteries, they've been doing, just fine. And so they're good to go. So right now they're in standby mode, and these batteries are now, the stars, so to speak, because I'm working with them to bring them back up to snuff. Okay, take care, YouTube.